Get notifications and stay updated every time I post a challenge podcast by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you all and hope you enjoy. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. We're here to break down the premiere, but please help me welcome my guest today. She's been here before. Fan favorite, right? Averey, what's up? Yeah, everyone's been talking about you on Twitter lately again. Like you have like all these people that are trying to get you to come back, and like when I said that you were going to be joining me to break this thing down, like they were pretty excited to say the least.
That makes me excited. I'm excited to talk about this one, to be honest with you. I haven't watched it in a very long time, so I'm excited for this one.
Hey, well, I mean, I'm just glad you were able to watch this one, right? I mean, you made it worthwhile. You're joining me on this after show. This is episode 1 of the challenge Double Agents. We're breaking it down. And the after show name for this season, I mean, it's called Double or Nothing. If you guys don't like the name, just a quick disclaimer, Averey came up with it. So if you need to be mad at anybody, it's her.
You can't be mad at me. I didn't do it.
No, but yeah, let's break this thing down. So first things first, we got to talk about our girl, Theresa. She's back.
We love her.
Yeah, we talked about this on our original episode about like how excited we'd be if it was actually true she was coming back, and lo and behold, here she is. And I gotta say, she has aged like fine wine, and I think someone else pointed this out too. Like she was looking good.
She was looking good. I think the only thing that is changed about her is her hair's long again. Like she looks exactly the same, but her hair's longer. I was like, okay, girl, I see you. Wait, we can come back. You would never know that she is a mom now and has 2 kids, right? It was crazy.
I was disappointed though. I wish we saw more of her. I'm pretty sure she only got like 1 confessional. A lot of people were like disappointed to see that as well.
Yeah, I was disappointed, but I feel like there was a lot they had to cover too. I feel like honestly we didn't see too much any one person, to be honest. Like I felt like we did see a lot of Ashley and CT, but now we watched the episode, we know why, you know? But I feel like, yeah, like it wasn't really focused on a lot of people, but it does set up a lot, like for a lot of drama. Because I can already tell this isn't going to be a fun season for any of the challengers, and I feel bad for every single one of them.
Well, they had the declassified episode that was on Monday, I believe. So that's kind of like what they did because, I mean, you got to throw a lot of things into one episode. It's kind of hard to do, you know what I mean? Like, I know that in prior seasons it's been an hour. They bumped it to an hour and a half, I believe, now. And that even then, like, they're still not able to fit, like, everything into one episode. So I think it was kind of good that they did the declassified episode because we kind of got to see, like, we were introduced to like some people that we might have not known before this season, and like reintroduced to like people like Theresa. And that kind of led into a little bit of a teaser, which they showed Theresa-Nany, their kind of past, and we're kind of teasing that up, like how that was going to play out. What was your thoughts on them kind of panning back to that? Obviously, because you were very much in the fold when it unfolded. So, what did you think of that? And do you think like, how do you think this is going to play out now with them kind of coming back onto challenge together after all these years?
Right. I would hope that like there's been like I don't even know how many years it's been since they met. Like when was Exodus 2? Like how many years ago was that? Okay, so there we go. I would hope that maybe time healed some wounds. You know, I would like to hope that both women have matured enough to maybe look past, you know, just like really like that was years ago, like different people. Like obviously Theresa is living a whole different life, has learned and grown so much. And I mean, I don't talk to Nany, but you know, like Nany and I had a conversation on Rivals 3, and we did kind of come to terms with it. And they were friends before, so I feel like maybe this would actually give them an opportunity to kind of reconcile and maybe actually work together. because now, like, with like Wes not really being connected to anybody, it kind of gives them almost like a common enemy, almost. Like, so maybe I got high hopes for the girls. I really do. I really got high hopes. But I really just hope Teresa does not trust anybody. Don't trust anybody in that house. I know I wouldn't. I wouldn't trust a single soul in that house. Mm-mm.
And not for nothing too, like you just mentioned, like there's, I feel like, an overwhelming amount of rookies on this season. So where it's like, I think that Teresa and Nany would be like a little silly to not work together, right? Because at some point, I mean, and we'll get into it later in this thing, like there was a very clear cut, like who the main targets were, on episode 1 at least. But like once like those targets are gone, like at some point, them being the vets, like the target's gonna be like on them. So I feel like it'd be smart for like people like Nany and Teresa to come together, because there's so many rookies on this season. Like it's crazy.
So many. Like, it's to the point, like, I know if I were to, like, if you would have put me in their situation, I would be intimidated to go in that house. I'd be a little nervous because there are so many rookies. And how, like, the patterns usually show is it's usually rookies versus vets in the beginning. In the beginning. It doesn't end like that, but always towards the beginning, it's like, we're rookies, we're sticking together, or we're from one season, or we're from Big Brother, so we stick together. And they already have these little inner alliances already just coming off the bat because that's the only thing that they can all relate to. Like, I know that I would have been nervous coming into that house with all of these already previous alliances, and especially being like Teresa and Nany, where they've been out for a while, to come back in, they're like, I don't know anybody, and I have no connection with anybody, really. Like, it, it'd be nerve-wracking, I would say.
Yeah, and
Like,
another thing too. This is actually he announced it on, I think it was Declassified episode. This is actually Leroy's last season. So wow, that's
yeah.
a little bit of a stunner, right? He was talking about
Yeah.
he was wanting to get his win this season, but I do want to point out though, if he didn't hurt his back a couple of years ago, I mean he might have got his win back then, but we don't want to talk about that.
I know. Honestly, if I could probably like pick a boy, have a Brad got to pick a partner. And I was thinking about this, like, who would I picked? Like, or who would I wanted? And I'm down to 2, and Leroy would have been one of them. I think it would have been either. I think I would have wanted Leroy just because he is a physically strong competitor and he'd be really good in eliminations and competitions with me. Also, he does usually get along with everybody in the house. And he usually, so he's a good blender, like politically. So I was like, he would have been a good one to stick around. Or as weird as it is, Devin. I'd want Devin.
He's
because
smart.
he's so smart,
Yeah.
so smart up here. But I'm like, maybe that could backfire because we're not like the biggest people to work together. But that could also be in our favor because people would underestimate us, and we could kind of blend in for a minute. But he's so smart, he would just weasel us in. Like, oh, look at Averey, she's a peanut. Look at me, I'm not anything. Come on, bring us to a final, even though Devin's already been in a final. Like, I was like, and both of them have already been in a final. The girls had, like, ooh, that's a tough one if I was a boy. Like, what girl would you pick? Like, if it was you, what girl would you pick?
I thought about this too, and I was like I was honestly kind of leaning towards Cam a little bit, because she's just like, I feel like so politically savvy to where like, and I'm sure like I could even like pull my own weight in the political department too, but like just her way of like thinking, and we see it later in this episode, was just like, oh my god, like she thinks that it's like everyone else is playing like a checkers game and she's playing chess, like she's always like a couple steps ahead. Ashley was another one I thought of, but the baggage, like she's clearly just had such a big target on her back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, from a physical standpoint, Lolo Jones, but I mean, I
But
thought about it too.
big target on her back.
What?
It's also a big target on your back. So it's like that happy medium. Like Ashley, she's an awesome player, big target on your back. You know, it's like that's what I had a problem with too. Like what boys would I want? But I'm like, you got to play that happy medium because you don't want somebody like DT or Wes, you know, that come into this game like, oh man.
I don't know though, because like I thought about it from a perspective of when I was comparing like say Cam and Ashley and then Lolo. Like obviously, yeah, like Lolo's like physically speaking, like brings a lot to the table. But I just feel like there's a certain edge that like challengers that have like been there for seasons have, as opposed to say like an Olympian coming over to the show. Like I don't know really know how to explain it, but I just feel like the people that are like their bread and butter is like they come from the challenge, like they've been there. Like there's just like a certain like switch you gotta have. Yeah.
It's kind of what you said about Cam, you know, like one thing that I thought was really, really smart of her, and I would have done the same exact thing, was having her and Leroy sleep in separate rooms. That was smart gameplay. Like who? Like yeah, of course you would do that. Like you're on this side, I'm gonna get intel and talk to these people, and then I'm on this. Of course, of course. Even like when they wanted to split up as partners, smart and like, don't make yourself a power couple. Like just split it up because now you're in different alliances. Even though you know Cam did have some trouble, I was like, oh. And as soon as CT rejected her, I knew it. I knew. I was like, that was dumb. That was a dumb move, CT. Because she was out for blood after that. I was like, oh no, oh no. And then it backfired.
What did you think of the setting though, and like the theme? Because like the episode started. They got TJ with this whole cool helicopter entrance. The challenge has evolved quite a bit since you've been there, right? Like some high level stuff.
A little bit, like a lot of it. Like yeah, I don't even know what I would do. Like I knew it was gonna be something as soon as I saw those skulls. That was like my first instinct, and I even noticed that on the declassified. Like this isn't gonna be a normal season. Like I knew it had to do with something with the skulls because they were everywhere. You know, and I know in prior seasons skulls are usually a little twist involved, but I thought it was cool. I'm actually very excited to see how this one's gonna work. And I think it's cool concept that you can take partners from other partners now.
Yeah,
Like you know, the winners get to choose. I thought that was
I like the theme. Just like everything that like went with it, like the whole and I said this to you yesterday, like I got like legit Hunger Games vibes from like this. Like I'm someone that pays very close attention to details. So just like everything about it just felt like very like movie-esque, I guess you could say.
all very open. The no doors, the glass everywhere. Everybody can see everything. I'm like, I'm with you. Like kind of even like the house itself. It's kind of almost like a bunker style. Like if you looked
Wow.
on the outside.
They actually had him living in a bunker last season, like an underground bunker, but it was supposed to be like a tough living condition. So it was like no windows and such. So this season, they got him living in like an actual house. But yeah, the just the whole setting, like I felt like they showed in the trailer a little bit, like the graphics, the visuals look beautiful, and
I love even how they do their nomination setups.
yeah.
Like the graphics on everybody's face and the buttons.
That's what I said. Like
It's so cool.
That's
you know,
that's kind of like what it was in like the Hunger Games too. Like they had like the same like effect where it showed like everybody's face and like who was like competing and stuff. That's what like the type of vibe that I got. Like
wow. And I love the fact that the winners can see who nominated the people getting thrown in. That was crazy because here everybody thinks that like, oh, no one's gonna know who I voted for, and you're like, oh, someone will always know who you voted for. Like
you could tell like they put in a lot of work, I feel like, to like perfect and make sure the details for the season were just like spot on. Like all the twists, like the layout, everything just seems like crisp, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The private voting I like a lot too. Because I feel
Yeah.
like now every time they've done private voting in the past, I feel like it's worked. And now bringing it back, your people can't see your cards that you're showing like directly, so you can go and tell someone something and then go and do a completely opposite thing, which I like. It changes a lot politically now, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. Because you don't necessarily have to agree with your partner. Like,
Yeah, and that actually happened. I think they dropped it on the YouTube channel, not YouTube channel, the Instagram page today. They showed everybody, because you know, like when they speed through the episodes, like they only show like some people's votes. They showed every single cast member's votes, and Devin and his partner voted separately. So like they didn't
oh,
vote for the same. Yeah.
interesting.
So going against the grain a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. See, I'm very excited for this season. It seems already intense, and I think I want to say it was CT who explained it very well. Or like how everybody, or was it Wes? I think it might have been either. I think it might have been Wes now that I'm talking about it. Was explaining it to, I'm not quite sure who. I know they're going to tear me apart. But when they're like, when he was saying how, like right now it's lackadaisy, everybody's, friendly, blah, blah, blah. But come this first challenge, it'll be completely different. You're like, you'll never see anybody. You'll see everybody sneaky and conniving. Or like, and then like CT, I know this was CT, and goes, you'll know when someone's talking about you because you go past the room and everybody goes, and that's so true, because being in that environment and actually being on one of those shows, it's so hard to even like relax the first night, because if you've been here before, and we've seen it in episode 1, the vets who have been here before, they're kind of sitting, Teresa was kind of just sipping back, like just like observing, CT observing, because they already know what's to come. And and all these rookies, oh, I love you, you're having a great time. I'm like, it's not going to be like this. I'm like, give it a day. And like, sure as poop, it freaking happened. Like, and I was like, that was so truth right there that they spoke. Like, because it's completely different vibe after a challenge. It's not a good feeling unless you win. It's
Right.
not a good feeling. Yeah.
What about that opening challenge though? I mean, I think Anissa kind of surprised me a little bit. I like this challenge though because it felt like kind of like a capture the flag type of thing when everyone was going for like the one thing, and yeah, and it was definitely interesting because like it kind of mixed like obviously there's a physical aspect, but I feel like there was more so a concentration aspect to it too, because you're crowded by so many people and you're trying to remember like these colors and like how they line up and such, which is like a pretty hard thing to do. But Anissa surprised me a little bit. Like it seemed like everyone else was in the pack, and it seemed like she was kind of like staggering in the back, and then she ends up pulling it out in the end.
Mm-hmm. I think like that actually might have helped her in like some strange way, because people underestimate her a lot, and like okay, like sleep on me, that's fine, because like while everybody's fighting in the back, like, I'm just gonna watch the colors still, and you guys can start grabbing it, but I'm gonna get 3 colors and I'm gonna be in the back, and then I'm gonna go back, and then like what kind of helped her too is she wasn't as fast as everybody. So when everybody already grabbed it, fought for it, ran back, she was coming up, and she was like, they're all in their boxes. Like, I'm just going to take my time, you know, truthfully, because everybody's all scrambling. I'm like, just wait for them all to go back. And then you have X amount of time to see 5 colors instead of 3, and really remember it. And I think maybe that kind of helped her too. But she is smart. She is a very smart lady. I think I've only met her in passing like one time. But like just on the show that I've seen, like she's very witty, like she's very up there. So I was actually glad that she got the win, because I think that kind of showed everybody that she was here to play.
Yeah, people have been like doubting her a lot, like as of late, and like we saw it last season, like people are made it to like the end of last season. I think it was like one of the last final eliminations before the final, and like people were voting her in because they were saying like, if we get into like a situation in the final to where you have to pair up with someone of the opposite sex, like we don't want her as like our partner. And I think you kind of saw that too when she had the first pick, when there was like gazing through like everybody.
Yeah. Like I didn't understand that. Like I was like, what's his name? Fessy? What's that guy? Yeah, I was like, what's his name? Like, I don't know. But like, yeah, like he really was like don't pick me. Like bro.
Big props to Darrell though, because Darrell actually was like, I don't care, I'll take Anissa. Like but that's just Darrell though. He's Darrell doesn't care.
And that's the thing, like the thing that I like about the challenges, it's not always about, you know, who's fastest, who's strongest, who has the most endurance. It's a compilation of everything, you know. It's like you have to have it all. Like you can't, like you could be good, like like you could be good at puzzles like Devin, but you can't, you know, Devin can't outmuscle Leroy, but sure as shit, Devin can beat Leroy in a puzzle, you know.
Right.
So it's like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody has their certain strengths. It's like, can you pick a partner that fills in your weaknesses? Like you have to, you know, and like with Anissa's point, like, yeah, she might not be like the most physically like best competitor, but she's strong. Like, you know, she's you know, she's got a body behind her. So it's like if you put Anissa against me in a banger, she's gonna, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you can't rule her out. And I don't like how people are sleeping on her. I'm like, she's there, isn't she? Like obviously somebody sees something about her that she's there and she can compete. She doesn't give up. Like I felt bad for her when that happened. I was like, damn, what is this, high school? Like, you know, even
that's probably the best way you could put it. Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah, like is this high school or is this a game? Because you got to think of that. You know, that's how I feel.
And not for nothing, I'm throwing it back to the challenge a little bit. When you were talking about intense, like seeing Lolo Jones take like that kind of like leap of faith. Oh, I felt like the fear. I felt like the fear of God like course through my body, and I'm not even like competing against her or on the show, but yeah.
Right. I saw that and my mouth just dropped. I was like, whoa. I was like, oh my God. And they even like slowed down for her to do it. And I was like, I think if I was one of those girls, I would have had to stop and watch that too. I'd been like, nobody saw that but me.
You saw her face too? Like she was like
she was messing around. But like, a lot of these competitors though, I feel, are coming in hot.
Well,
like I think
it has something to prove though, I feel like obviously you can make the argument, say Anissa, Cam, Tori, like they haven't won yet, and these are girls that are considered vets, right? So I guess you can make the argument that they have a lot to prove. Like this is our show, we haven't won yet, we're trying to like mark our territory. But you can make a bigger argument that Lolo actually has more to prove than all these people, considering like, to my understanding,
right,
she was like a silver medalist in like the Olympics. Like that's not like some like. That's not something you can really just be like, oh yeah, like cool. Like that's like legit. Like that's like
and that's
legit as it gets.
That's like, you know, like she almost has like her legacy to protect almost. Like, you know, like I'm this elite athlete. You know, I'm such this elite athlete that I can travel the world. Like that. Yeah, you're right. I never thought about that. Like that. Sure.
Like no knock obviously on any of the cast members. Like I'm sure they all train like pretty hard in their own right, but like from a 2020, no pun intended, 2020 like hindsight, you look at a situation and it's like Olympic medalists versus like reality TV stars. Like it's kind of something to where like if I lose to these people, like I don't want to, like, you know.
That's true. That's true, because like she spends her whole time training, and like you said, I'm sure the challengers do too. But it's a different level of training for the Olympics than it is. Yeah, like yeah, right. Like yeah, I never even thought about that. Huh? Look at you.
Extension.
Look at you. Just a pretty face. Look at you behind there.
But yeah, what about the CT and Wes kind of shoe situation, I guess we could say, because that was probably the biggest takeaway from the episode. I feel like, despite all the intenseness that went on, it was CT and Wes when CT threw the shoe back and hit him in the face. I was surprised. Like, it was funny. Don't get me wrong. Like, I was surprised at how easily Wes went down. Like, I mean, then again, I haven't been hit like in the face with the shoe. I don't know how friendly fire works with how hard it hit him in the face, but like he was just dropped. Like,
I want to know how hard he threw that shoe, but it was a perfect little right. It was a perfect smack. I think more so it just scared Wes. He was like, eh. But like, what a beautiful fall, though. He really was like, no. Just, I don't know. CT's a big guy. I guess you could really get some leverage with that shoe flop. That was funny. That was funny, and I wish I could have seen that in real life. Like, yeah, they really did. Yeah, Wes is going to be a gift for the rest of his life for that one. He's not lying on that.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think I want to be on the receiving end, like just to experience myself how I felt. And I think I'll leave that for Wes.
I mean, that had to have hurt, right? Like, I would have been like, ow. Like, I need a second for my face.
I feel like now we're like analyzing like sneakers, and it's like, no,
I know,
but
sneaker.
yeah, like how hard of a sneak? Yeah, but no, like it hit him like straight in the nose. It looked like. So
Like right there, just bullseye, right, bullseye.
But what about now? Let's talk about these pairings because, and I mean, I've talked about Lolo Jones a couple times before. I'm like shocked. Like I'm shocked that they let her and Nam pair up with each other. You see how big Nam? Like, how did they let it go? But like everybody else was kind of like trying to claim each other, right? Like I don't know how they let like Lolo is without a doubt the biggest girl in the house.
Yep.
And I think Nam might even
like
huge. And he comes from a show called his original show was called Ultimate Beastmaster, and that's a Netflix show. Now I've never watched it.
You have to word
Nam because Nam's actually supposed to come on my show later this year. So no offense, I've never seen your show, but I've seen clips, and like it's like some Ninja Warrior type stuff. Like I saw a clip from him. I think it was like a 10-foot rope, and he like made it up to the top of it, and like that. Like it was some serious next level stuff.
Maybe I should go back instead of like Leroy Devon. Maybe I should pick Nam as my person. People are sleeping on him. He's sleeping on him, and he seems like he's a nice guy. I feel like he could, I like him. Wow. I didn't realize, I didn't understand that one either about how they let Lolo and Nam, great pairing, very strong. But also, I think it goes back to the high school mentality. Like, think with your gameplay, not like who your friend is. Like, think gameplay.
I think that from what I've gathered, Lolo is like she's a big personality. Like I'd say like she's very much so. She wants to be the one driving the car instead of being the one in the passenger seat. So I don't think, and there's obviously, I mean, you could probably relate to how guys are in the show. They're alphas. Like they all want to be alpha. So I don't think many people wanted to take maybe like a backseat to her, Like I think that a lot of people went for partners that either they're friends with and they've worked with in the past, or someone who they feel like they could easily take like the, keys to the ignition for.
Right. Yeah, that's a good valid point. Like, I've never met her personally, but like from what I've seen, like she does seem to have like a very strong, alpha personality. And I could see like especially all of the guys on the show, because you're right, they all are macho, they all are, like the Iron Man, hear me roar type people, especially those type of the men, that are on there, like it's hard for them to listen to their partners. We've seen this, they're like, for some reason they're like, no, you're saying stupid. And then like, 80% of the time, you might be right, but there's that 20% that their partner's just like, please put your pride aside and listen to me for 5 seconds, you know? And I could see her, instead of like being like, all right, you're stupid, I'm gonna let you go, I could see Lolo kind of being like, no, this is what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
I think
just causing like a, yeah. She would
that's
be a
who
good girl. Like,
that's who I'm watching out for because I think she could bring it from both like a leadership standpoint with their team, like calling the shots and stuff, and from a physical aspect. And obviously, I'm pretty sure Nam could bring it from a physical aspect. And he kind of strikes me personality-wise as someone who doesn't mind having his partner like take the lead. So
very,
I think that and this twist, you have to go down and win an elimination and get your skull in order to go to the final. I'm looking down the list. I'm not seeing like anybody that's want to go in against them. Like who's taking them out in an elimination? Like anything though. Like you could even like they're smart too. It seems like who's gonna want to go against these people?
oh yeah, because he mentioned that he was good at puzzles, didn't he? He said, oh,
Yeah.
I'm great at puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think that's okay. First of all, I think the skulls and that you have to get a skull to make it into a final is an awesome ad. And I think it's great that people have to go to elimination because you actually have to fight for it. Like you can't just like weasel your way in and be a layup or whatever. You actually have to prove yourself that you can make it and that like you worked for it. I think that's really cool and I like that concept this year.
They
Like,
did it last season.
I think that's
too.
they did.
But like how it worked was like it got really redundant because people started throwing daily challenges so they could go in. Like it was the competition aspect of the actual challenges like kind of like diminished. So now on this but because there was like unlimited amount of skulls. So now this season there's only 10.
There's 10. Okay.
So now they kind of cleaned it up a little bit. So I think that that's a good idea because a lot of people started to get bored towards the end of last season because there was very little competition, more or less just people like, let me go in, like, So it took away from like.
I wonder. Now you just. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I just had like a thought. I wonder since there's only 10, if you lose, let's say like. Okay, like I had you had a skull, right? And you got thrown into elimination and now that person eliminated you. Would they get your skull or would it go back
I think they take the skull that was yours. I'm pretty
like
sure.
your right?
That's an interesting point because
Didn't he say something about and keep your skulls? Because he said, I think TJ said something to the extent of
if you have a skull, you could go back in.
Yeah, like, but you have to like learn.
We had one guy last season. He went in the first elimination. The guy that's partnered up with Teresa, Jay. He was a rookie last season. He went into the first elimination and got his skull, and then they threw him into the second one because they thought he'd be easy, and he won again. So he had 2 skulls, and then he went again for the third one and lost. So that's an interesting point. That's an interesting point you just brought up because I didn't think about that because it was unlimited last season. So now you just posed the topic of does this person get your skull or does it go back in? That's interesting to point out because now I don't know. Say if someone has a skull already and they go into another elimination and the person beats them, obviously that person's out, but they had a skull before that elimination. Does that skull then go to the person that beat them and then there's still 4 other remaining for that gender? Like, I don't, because I think it's 5 for the guys and then 5 for the girls.
Like the skull, let's say like, okay, like I'm going against Lolo Jones, right? And I want a skull, right? And I go against Lolo Jones and I give her my skull and say, hey, I want to stay in the game and I don't want to compete against you. You already win the skull and I'm not going to get eliminated. There's so many things that they could do this season. Like if I just give her the skull, can I stay? Like, and I'll work for my other like, because if there's only 10, what happens if they put 2 skull people against each other in elimination?
Right.
Does
Yeah.
that not people from the final, or at least one person from the final then?
I
Like,
guess we're going to have to see how this plays out.
I know, right? Now I'm thinking, like, okay, like if you had a skull and I had a skull, we went to a banger and I lose. Okay, so there's one skull going away, and then you get another skull for beating me. That's two skulls that are just poof.
Hey, I mean, I don't want to go up against you in anything, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. I don't want to lose, okay?
Please don't embarrass me.
I'll keep my 0-0 record, and we'll leave it at that. All right. So
So many. There's like that's what I'm excited about. I'm curious to see the 10 skull aspect. You know,
yeah,
like
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to like say anything and then have it be wrong. Like I'll just wait and see. Like like I can't make any predictions right now. It's like that just threw me through a loop because like I was so routinely like, oh yeah, like this, and then when I thought about it again, I was like, wait. So I guess we'll bookmark that.
yeah, prepare for the unexpected with them.
Mm.
They do throw in those loops.
do you who maybe are you rooting for? I mean, obviously Teresa, but like, was there anybody that maybe you didn't know before this that like you watched now and then after the fact you're like, I think I kind of like this person. I want to see them go for.
Dang, that's a good question because it's only episode 1. So it's like, you know how everybody's usually like kind of like nice on episode 1 and then like
That's
middle
true.
of 2. Yeah, in the middle of season or the middle of episode 2, you can kind of start getting a feel for like how the house is going to be. I don't know. I'd say like the people that I would like to get them, obviously Teresa, you know, because she is my friend. But people that I think like maybe like deserve it a little bit more, or like have like I think Leroy, I think he's definitely deserving of a win. He's been there multiple times. He's always this close, you know. Kind of almost the same with Anissa. She's always been this close. I mean, hell, even Nany kind of deserves it at this point, you know. Like she's been on how many seasons and has always like been this close. Like there's so many people, especially on this season, that have been this close. So it's hard for me to like say like, oh, they deserve it more or they deserve it more because I'm like, dang, there's a lot of people that deserve it who have been here ruthlessly back and back and back and back and just have never gotten it. So it's like you kind of like just like as like a good person, you're like, dang, I want you to. But then it's like I kind of like a little upsets. I kind of like, maybe like a rookie can swing in there. Like that would be awesome if Nam was like first one I've ever been on, won it. Like everybody didn't know who I was, but now they do. Like that, that would be cool too.
I'm really pulling for Nam, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm pretty much like what you said. Like I'm pretty like it's hard to really gain like any opinions that might change because like you said, it's episode 1. I feel like the thing every season is like, oh, everyone's nice on episode 1 because that kind of then builds up to what is basically the theme of the show, which is like turning on people. So it's hard to kind of like now pinpoint like who maybe I like now that I didn't like before and vice versa. Like
Because, it's like, yeah, I like Wes as a person, but I know Wes's gameplay, and I don't trust Wes, and I like Wes as a person, but, like, man, he is crazy. Like, he gets right down to the wire, and you're like, it's like, same with Teresa. Teresa can be cutthroat, too. All of them can. So it's like, it's like, damn, like, they turn on that switch, and you're like, oh, that was a move. Like as a viewer, I know there's going to be a moment. We just know this right now. There's going to be a moment where Wes does something, and we're all going to be like, oh man, like he just really he got somebody, like, and you're like, damn, Wes, that was shitty. Like you didn't have to do, but that's the name of the game. And that's one thing that, like, I know that I would not do well in this house because they all can, like, lie so freely and just, like, be just little it's too sneaky. I can't deal with it. I'd be like, oh my God, I don't trust any of you guys. I don't know who to trust. I'm like, thank God that Averey have each other. Like, because at least, hopefully you would think they would have each other's, but like, you never know. Like $1 million is $1 million. And I don't know. This one would just be too crazy. I'm glad that I'm not in this house on this one.
Wow.
I
think
really
a lot of people
know
would,
who to
I think a
trust.
lot of people wish you were though.
I would just be like a little, what is it, a small child in the city, just wide-eyed, just being like, oh my God. My confessional would be like, Averey, how was your day? Oh my God. Like, if you're like, I don't know what's going on. I got to start taking notes. I'm so confused. They said that they're not friends, but they're talking and laughing now, and I don't know what's going on. But we're supposed to both this person in. Like, I would just be I'm like, what's real anymore? And they'd be like, nothing's real. Nothing's real. I'd be like, I know.
Yeah. Let's dive into these politics now, because this all draws back to the point of CT not picking Cam that ultimately kind of came back to bite him now. Something I want to point out is Leroy traditionally, like we're used to seeing, like he kind of just coasts through. Like he doesn't really like make any real big game moves. He kind of like just chill with everybody. Like he relies on that, We're kind of now seeing that him and Cam are like an item. She's kind of like in more or less in a way serving as like his like mouthpiece, like his voice, like making the moves like that he hasn't made.
Yes, like what's it called? I know what you're trying to say. Like what are those guys that come out before the DJs, like DJ Khaled, and they pump everybody? A hype man.
MC.
She's like a hype man. She's a hype man. Like, like she hypes him up and she gives him confidence, I feel, to like trust in his own abilities and not to let other people think for him and then maybe to think for himself. And I think that's what Cam draws out of Leroy.
Because this all draws back to the point of,
like I just like in a personal aspect, that's what a partner should do, right? Like they should build you up and they should make you believe in yourself and they should support you and give you some courage when you don't have the courage and vice versa. And I think that's actually really, really a positive trait that Cam brings to Leroy.
Like Leroy and Cam, more specifically, obviously, like for Leroy, like wanting to get his win. In past seasons, like we probably wouldn't have seen him make a move like this, like, because obviously, if Leroy wants to win, there's certain like roadblocks in the game that I feel like have to be removed in order to enhance his chances of winning. Which obviously, the biggest roadblock would be CT. Him and Leroy were actually friends. Like, I think they did like some type of after show, I think, on the Challenge YouTube. When they were talking about it, Leroy was actually at CT's wedding a couple years ago. So he kind of like made a move to just like kind of throw in his buddy because like Cam was kind of like the driving force in that. But I think it was, I mean, if you're team CT, you hate it. But if you're just like from a logic standpoint, it's like an awesome move. You have Ashley and CT between the two. They have 5 challenge wins between the two. So right then and there, it's just like a big bullseye. Not only that, but Ashley, just like, I don't know if you know from like a years past, she like stole the money from her partner when they won, like similar to how Johnny did with Sarah. So she's pretty much branded herself now going forward, like, so they just had a clear target on their back, and it was kind of like crazy to see everybody kind of like step up and make a move that I feel like wouldn't have been made like seasons prior. Like, could you imagine if Bananas was in the house? Like, I feel like he might have been the first to go or get voted in.
Oh, they would have tried to throw him in probably with CT. Like, they probably would have made them both go, because usually I don't know, are they usually on the same alliance?
They kind of like have, yeah, I'd say more so that they've been working together than against each other.
Like, kind of usually kind of.
Yeah. But it would have been interesting to see with Bananas there if what Leroy would do then. You know, say if the roles were because him and Bananas are actually closer than Leroy and CT are, right? Like Leroy said himself, like his only like
Right.
on the show is Bananas. So say if you put Bananas in the position that CT was in, say it's Bananas. Well, I mean Bananas and Ashley. I feel like regardless, the two money stealers as it is would have been a target. But just hypothetically say that Bananas, and if Cam's telling Leroy like giving him like that nudge, like, hey, we're throwing in Johnny. Does Leroy still go through it as hard as he did with this? That's my question.
Dang. I don't know. I think that if Johnny Bananas were there, I think the first episode would have been completely different. I feel like Johnny would have manipulated the rookies to the point where their best bet was on Johnny's, like what Johnny wanted, like what Johnny Bananas wanted, you know? And since him and CT are such close friends, you know, just that little group, actually, he would have convinced or tried, because Cam's a very like independent thinker. I feel like he would have tried to persuade Cam and Leroy to keep CT around because CT is a big target and you need big targets to protect the other big targets like Leroy. But in actuality, he doesn't want to lose CT because that takes the pressure off of Johnny Bananas. You know, like I feel like he would have connived it to the point where his alliances and his votes would have stayed. You know, all in all, I think that it backfired. Like that was a super twist where it wasn't even a boys elimination because now Wes and CT coming in that house just fuming. Like I would not be in a house with both of those just roaring up. Like who? Like just, especially CT. Like who voted me in? Who voted me in? This? Oh no, I don't want to play with that one. I was like, oh god, I wouldn't want CT to yell. I was like, oh god, my head would be down. I'd be like, was it me? Like it was you.
Like I could see though, like if it was the same situation, say if it was like Bananas there, like the same say hypothetically, just the same exact thing that played out, but take Bananas and put him in CT's place. I could see Leroy seeing like the votes, like and how things are working out, being like, all right, well Johnny's probably gonna go in anyway. The numbers aren't on his side. I could see Leroy just burning his vote and being like, well, I didn't vote for it. The numbers did.
Oh, yeah, I could see that too.
Because it's individual votes. It's not like a agreement.
He probably would have. He probably would have. Like now, yeah, he probably would have totally to maintain that friendship. He probably would have. Just like exactly what you said. Oh, I didn't vote for you, bro. I voted for
anybody. I don't know.
Leo, right? I was like, I don't know who's one of the new guys. Leo, you know. I also expect good things of that guy. I think he might be a little crazy, but I think he's gonna like. But yeah.
All those WWE guys have some level of crazy in them, though, right?
Truly, he's definitely a showman. Like when he got in his little element, when they were like kind of like joking around, I was like, he got in and see where that like that persona comes out.
That's a really underrated thing because I can, although it's like a crazy comparison, WWE more or less is like more of just like a physical theater because they're acting while wrestling. If you think about it, so like he's used to like putting on like a fake persona, you know. So I feel like that prepares him well to like because you got to lie a lot in the challenge and like deceive people. But it was cool to see him step up. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it was cool to see him and some of the other rookies step up to CT in that deliberation and kind of like, because we're not used to seeing that. They're usually just like quiet.
Yeah. But I mean, they pointed some very valid points, you know, like it wasn't even like they were talking shit. They were just more so like, so you're saying you want to throw in one of us? Like, what does that do for us? And you're like, I mean, they just kind of just spoke their mind. But you're right. Like that normally never happens. And they were just like, but I think that they also know, like they knew in the back of their mind that they were reassured that they weren't going in. So that also plays a factor. When you kind of know that kind of hold the cards, you know, and you're like, and you think more or less that somebody is going to go home, you kind of buck up just
Right.
because, you know, like then they're going to be out of the house and you're like, be fucking pissed off at me. Bye. You know, like, oh, I can't wait to. I'm very curious to watch the second one. I think I need to see what goes on when the boys get back in the house. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just made Averey a fan again.
Yeah. I was like, I think so. I think I might have to watch this one. I'm kind of curious. It's interesting. I don't know if I'll be able to follow it. I'll be like, what is going on? But you're gonna talk to me next and be like, so this is my book and this is everything that I've written down because I don't understand it and I need you to explain it.
Let's get into this vote now because CT and Ashley obviously were pretty much voted by a majority of the people, and then we get to the actual like deciding of like who's gonna be facing them, and Anissa, whoa, like came just like a bat out of hell and just says, yeah, well, you know, I'm tired of, you know, making it to the end, but not the end. So, Wes, you're going in. And then it was just like, because I feel like Nam and Lolo are a strong team, but I feel like in like a challenge, just like basically just challenge speaking, I feel like the two top teams, if like on paper, were probably CT and Ashley and Wes and Natalie, because Natalie came over from Survivor. Natalie won Survivor. So.
Oh, I know. Because just like a little fun fact out there, I don't watch reality TV. Obviously, I think we all kind of like, if you see me, I'm like, I don't freaking know. But I did watch some episode, like I did watch some seasons, and I watched. I think she was on 2 seasons, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
And I watched, yeah. I was like, I watched her on both of those because I liked her. As soon as she came out, because like Survivor, you know, like I'll click on it. Sometimes if it's like a good one, I'll get like, I knew like that J kid. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I remember watching him. But Natalie, I liked from the get-go, and I thought she was super smart. I don't know if you've ever watched it. She's a very smart lady, and I knew that I wanted her like from the get. And so I would say, like, just for people, be wary of Natalie. Like, she's like, I would say that one too. Like, if I was a female in the house, I would be very wary of her. Yeah. Either make her your ally or just be very wary, because she's a very, very strong competitor, I feel.
Right. So.
Just in my opinion, because I've seen her compete in the Survivors, and she obviously lived in worse conditions than most survivors or most challengers have, you know, just eating rice and still having to do this. Like, some of those challenges on Survivor, crazy. And I'm like, oh gosh. And she did it. And I'm like, and she came back, man. And like, I give her credit. I like her. I was a fan of her on Survivor, if you couldn't tell. So I would just say, as a challenger, watch out for that one too. But I don't know if I was Natalie, if I would have been partners with Wes, because he does have a history. So I would have to say that's her one, like, probably like, move that she made, you know, just because he has a history. Yeah. People want him out. He has a target, and she's a strong female, you know. But they do think very similar. And so I could see that partnership be even good partnership. And I could even see it potentially going all the way to like, okay, let's say she does trade him in or she keeps him, but they get separated, but they're still working together as double agents to get them two into a final together.
That's actually a really good idea. Wow, I didn't even think of that either. Like splitting from.
Yep.
That's like a totally, like, you could tell someone like, okay, if we win this elimination, we'll split, go on separate pairs, but like still be working with. I like that.
Ooh, good idea. And I'm like, man,
you're on fire today.
I know. It's like, you know, it's essentially what Cam and Leroy are doing.
I was supposed to be having you on your feet thinking, but you've had me now twice kind of being like, what? Like.
Yeah, it's just because you overthink all these things, you know? You're like, dang, what could they do? What could they do? What could they do? You know? And how can I beat the system? Like, that's essentially what Cam and Leroy are doing. Separate, keep it separated, but also look out for each other.
Yeah.
Link.
So now we have arguably on paper, I guess you could say maybe the two top teams in the house, like statistically going against each other in the first elimination. And now a big thing everyone was kind of like pissed off about was because it ended up being a girls' day and not a guys' day. Cam Leroy, the fans, everyone's talking about it. Now, throwing it back a ways, traditionally, the first eliminations are always guys. Like the last time they've had started with a girls' elimination was Rivals 1, which was 15 seasons ago in 2011. So it's been that long since we've started out with a girls' elimination first. So the big theory that a lot of people are thinking was production saw like how the votes were clearly going to be shaking out, and their thoughts were to themselves, we can't afford to lose CT or Wes episode 1, so we gotta by any means gotta make it a girls' day. So that's what I think. I mean, I could just be looking too far.
If we're gonna keep it 100, I kind of thought that too. Yeah. I mean, come on.
That's like
you know, like what's gonna be better? You know, sending 2 pissed off men back or 2 pissed off women? Like, oh, it's gonna be those. Like, we already know. I already know both boys are going to come out and Wes is going to look at Anissa and be like, boom, boom. And like CT is going to be looking at everybody and being like, boom, boom, boom. And they're just going to be so mad that they even got their names brought up. Like,
well, Wes and Anissa were actually clearly something's going to happen, because on social media today or yesterday, Wes posted like text messages between him and Anissa talking about it, and Anissa like saying like, oh, I know we've been friends for this amount of years, like I'm sorry like that when I voted, like I kind of made it like personal and such, and like they were fighting in the like I think he deleted them, but like he posted them on social media either earlier today or yesterday. So clearly this is in real time, so clearly not getting too far ahead of ourselves. Issues are still, you know, tensions are high still, so something's bound to happen. If it's still this bad now, I can only imagine what it's going to be like on the show, considering they filmed it like how many months ago, you know?
But I mean, not for nothing, Anissa said some really good points though. She has had friends lie to her face and throw her in. Like, she has had people say like, oh, I'm going to get here, but they don't. Like, so I think she's very justified in like throwing it in, especially if in their brains, I can't say in her brain, in the challengers' brains, they thought it was a male day. Because that's just a great opportunity. Like, just as a competitor standpoint, that is a great opportunity to get 2 big hitters out of the game, politically and physically. You know, it just definitely backfired when it was a girls' day. And you could see it on everybody's face, too. Everybody was like, yeah.
Right, yeah. So now this elimination they're doing is actually the same elimination that Naya and Leroy beat Nany and Madison on.
I know. I saw that and I was like, ooh, if I could do that, I could do this one. Because I watched those girls for like a half hour doing it, and I know how to do it now. And even you hear Nany in the background, which I was like, I kind of chuckled. I was like, she goes, swing! You need to swing! And I was like, listen to her! Like, she knows what she's talking about. Like, but like, I think that like if I had any chance to be like a big hitter like Natalie, like that would have been the one. Like, cause I'm pretty like lank, like I'm pretty long. Like I have really long limbs, and I feel like I could have really like whoop it over, like, you know, cause that's like from seeing it live and seeing it and watching it again on TV. The key is like to almost like inchworm it, you know, so you get it close together and then you blast, and then you get your legs close, or you get your hands close to your legs, and then you blast off with your legs, and then you know, it's like an inchworm. And so I'm like, oh, I could have done that one, even with the hump. I was like, I could have like waved my legs over. I'm like, I think I could have won that one. And I was like, give me, you know, I was like, you just give me like a 3 seconds to figure it out. I'm like, I think I could have had a chance to win that one.
Now the question on my mind is, who would have won had it been CT versus Wes? Now here's my thing. I feel like CT's a bigger guy, so that could have worked against him. But I feel like Wes was very psyched out going against CT.
I would agree. I think it would have been.
And CT, you could tell, has been like really seriously training for this season.
Yeah, I know he has lost a lot of weight. Man, that's a good question. Because Wes was in his, he was not expecting to get thrown in.
Right.
Let's just be real. Like when you don't have it, like, I don't know, like that, like already messes up your head. Like, dang, I did not picture me going in. Like, man.
So I don't know. I feel like my money would have been on my CT.
Oh, see, I would have gone with Wes.
Really? Well,
yeah, just
tell
because
me why
like
you would have. Is it because of like less body weight to move, maybe?
I would say less body weight. Wes is like long. Wes is swam, like obviously back in the day, but he has that motion of his arms doing that. So I feel like he really could have like hooked it.
Yeah.
And not only that, as I feel like he has a little bit more. I mean, I haven't seen CT's endurance, but I know Wes has really good endurance because he runs a lot. And I feel like Wes wouldn't have got as tired as quickly as CT. And I feel like also people rooting against, man, see, I don't know. Like, because I want to say they would root against Wes because it's Wes, but then it's like
I think
they wanted
just would
CT.
have enjoyed the show. I don't think they would have cared really who went home.
Like, I know, like, in Wes's mind, the more you tell him that you want him to go home, the more he's going to try. Like, that's what fuels him. Like, people saying, like, oh, like, like, go CT and not cheering for Wes. That's Wes's cue to be like, oh, I'm going to show these, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to, like, he likes to upset.
Right.
So I feel like that's what fueled him more. But like you said, they would probably just like the show. I would still go with Wes, but it would be really close. I think what would mess up CT more would be that little hump that they had to, just because he does have more body weight, and Wes, I feel, has longer limbs. It would be easier for him to hook around. But I mean, who knows? Because prime example, it happened to Ashley and Natalie. Ashley's lighter. She has really long limbs, and she couldn't do it. So it's I guess it's up in the air. We'll never know. We'll never know.
But honestly, though, I'm glad that if we were to ever get a CT West elimination, that it wasn't that particular one. I feel like that, not anticlimactic, but I think like from a casual viewer standpoint, I think most people would agree that they would rather see them like clash. Although I don't know how close that'd be.
But intense competition, like with each other, like they're running or like going and finishing, like like how they're like everywhere, and they're like, you got to run to this ball and jump through this hoop and smash this, like one of those. But do that 7 times in less than 10 minutes. You're like, okay. Like that would have been kind of cool because I feel like maybe their time, like their, and their anxiety would have kicked in. That, and that's what would be kind of cool to see with both of them, like how they would both react. They'd both be looking at each other. Like, you're right. I'm glad that they didn't go out on this one. I'm with you. I'm sorry that Ashley had to go, but I'm kind of glad the boys didn't go, just as a viewer's standpoint.
Like, right. So we're losing Ashley, who's a pretty big name girl-wise. Episode 1, which is pretty crazy. And then now Natalie gets her skull, and she's allowed to switch partners, which was the twist. So I don't know if she's going to be – I don't know. I feel like Natalie might stay with West. I think she's going to stay with – I don't think, like, it's within her to be like, no, I'm dropping you. And, like, I think she's the type of person that's like, I'm going to start something, I'm going to finish it.
I mean, but hey, if it wasn't for West, she wouldn't have even got tossed in. So you have to think that aspect. She got tossed in because of West.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And she had made a point, like in one of her confessionals, she's like, I don't know if choosing West was a great idea because he does have such a big target on his back.
And I was surprised to see Teresa, who's worked with him in the past. And I'd say Teresa's best season was when she was partnered with Wes. And then she was like, I can't believe she chose Wes. I was like, what? Like, I thought, like, you guys were, like, linked up, you know?
So much out. Like, Wes stressed her out. Like, you guys don't see, like, obviously the whole time, but oh my God, he stressed her out. And I think he got sick enjoyment out of it. In a weird way. Like, I think he likes, like, to piss her off. And I'm like, why do you do that to her? He's like, because it's fun. I'm like, oh my God. You know, but I do have a feeling just by, like, getting the previews, I want to say, this is a prediction. Please don't, you know, don't crucify me. Don't crucify me. I know it's crucify, but either way, I have a feeling. I have a feeling that Wes is gonna do something to Teresa that she's gonna be like, "Damn, I knew I shouldn't have trusted you." Because there is like a point where she's like, "I knew I shouldn't have trusted you. I knew I should have never have trusted you." And there's only two people that I can think of that she would ever say that to, and they would be Wes. Like she's like, because she's almost like yelling at herself in the preview. You know, she's like, "I knew I should never have trusted you." And I'm like, I think it's either Wes, because she, you know, she's like, I knew it. Or it could be Nany. Like, you know, it could be one of those things where the girls do kind of get over it. Or, you know, theirs was way more deep-seated than mine and hers issue, you know, by the way. Like, it wasn't just, it had a lot more to, Theresa-Nany's stuff has a lot more than me and Nany stuff. So, I mean, I don't know how that's going to vie out. But, you know, they've worked together as teammates before, and I just feel like it could possibly be her that betrays Teresa too. But I feel like somebody of those two people are gonna really like upset her almost. Like I can see, I just hear it. Somebody that means something to her in some way, shape, or form is gonna screw her over. And I'm like, I'm so devastated already for that to happen. I don't even know who's gonna do it, but I'm so devastated.
Could be anybody for all we know.
I could, but like I just have a feeling it's somebody that's like she's like, I knew I shouldn't have done this, and I did it, and now I'm like I hope not though. Fingers crossed. Please prove me wrong, Nany and Wes. Please prove me wrong. But
yeah, we could definitely revisit that at some point. But yeah, well now I want to. What?
Think of me, be like, damn, Avery called it episode 1. If it does happen, you heard it first, folks. If it happens. If not, you didn't hear anything. You didn't hear anything. Not
in one ear and out the other, you know.
Yeah.
Now let's break down this episode in terms of like rating it. What would you? We could either do 5 stars or 1 out of 10. Like, how do you feel like as a viewer this premiere was? Because the last couple seasons, people have been pretty critical of, but I've seen consensus that a lot of people seem to like this premiere. I personally thought it was really good. I feel like they nailed a lot of it, and I thought that a lot of that had to do with because they showed and kind of gave everyone like a little bit of a teaser and introduction on the Declassified episode. I feel like that really helped, and I feel like they knocked out a lot of points. So, what do you want to do? 5 star out of 5 or 1 to 10? I feel
we'll do it on 5. You know, I would say like I'd have to agree with you. I think they put a lot of effort into this one. I even like the location. Like even the elimination, the crater is a really cool concept.
Yeah.
Where they have to walk around. I felt like maybe the first challenge was a little lackluster.
I could agree with that.
No, like even like when they hit their little, it wasn't like a big explosion. It was like a, like you know, like when they sat there, they detonated whatever their little firework. It wasn't even like a good one. It was just like a. So that aspect and like kind of like seeing it. I mean, there wasn't as much drama in the first episode as there usually is. There wasn't as much conniving. But I would have to say, like, I would give it like a 4 all in all. Because I think a 3 is too harsh almost because it wasn't average.
No,
I feel like a 3.
Yeah. I honestly, like, I'd give it like a 4.2. Like, not quite there to like 4.5. but it's not just a 4. So like kind of like a 4.2, 4.3, like right on the cusp of like the half of, close to being to like 5 out of 5, but like not quite there. Just because like not everything can be perfect, so you gotta like dock a few points off. I'd say 4.2 out of like 5.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. Like some things, like I still think the challenge was cool. The memorization thing, I think that was very even keel, especially for a first one, because it's not like right off the bat your weakest players are obviously going to be lackluster, or people that aren't as book smart are going to be as lackluster. It was a little mix of both. I just felt like maybe they could have, I don't know, maybe made like the ending better, like with the explosions, like really get people fired up. I'm like, oh, or I don't know. But I think it was cool. I like how they do all the techie stuff now, like with like the circle. I thought that was kind of cool. I thought it was good. I mean, it's definitely gonna make me watch next week. So I'll give it that.
All in all, it was pretty good, and thank you again for joining me. We could definitely revisit maybe later down the line in the seasons and do another one too if you're down.
Yeah, yeah. It was like I would love that. You'll keep me what is it? Keep me on task to keep watching it. You'll be like, oh, I have to. There's always that time, or we'll shoot you in DM and be like, so what did you think? They'd be like, okay, because now I have, now if I will watch it, I have to have people to talk to it about, because nobody in my circle watches it.
That's what I'm saying, right?
I gotta like, if I gotta have my guilty pleasure, it has to be with somebody. So I'll be like, all right, did you watch it? And you can make me a fan again, and I'll get one of those cool shirts, and then we can both rock it,
Hey, I can make some arrangements to get you a shirt if you really want one. I'm just saying.
I'll trade you the calendar for a shirt. How's that?
All right, yeah, well, we could do that. But yeah, could we maybe give people something to look forward to too? What are we gonna get Averey back on the challenge potentially next, or could we saw Theresa come back? Now are we gonna see you?
No, I mean, I'm very open to go back. I will say that. Like, there's really nothing that has prevented me from going back. I just don't think they want me back, if we're going to be honest with each other. I just think that MTV somebody just doesn't think that I'm like it. And that's okay. I'm not like going to cry about it. I'm not one of those challengers that like, why doesn't MTV like me? And like start all this stuff. Like, if they want me, then they'll call, and that's like, I'm not going to beg to be on a show. Come on now. Like, I'm not like, yes, it's amazing. One of the best things that one of the most amazing experiences of my life has been on MTV. And you get amazing opportunities and you get to travel. Like, I would have loved to go to Iceland, right? That's where they are right now. Like, you know how insane that is? Like that's amazing. Like the countries that you get to travel in and the things that you get to see, like on that aspect, like, yeah, that sucks that I'm not on it, because that's one of the reasons I thought it was one of the coolest things, but also not mad that I don't have to deal with all this drama, like get stressed out, but I would love to go on. Moral of the story, I just don't think that they want me. I just don't think I'm like dramatic enough.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, it's fine.
Not dramatic.
There's always a silver lining somewhere, I feel like, right?
I'm a very optimistic person, so I try to like see the benefits, and I'm like, yeah, it sucks, but my life is pretty good, so I can't really complain,
Well, thanks for joining me again. I mean, I don't know how you managed to sit through nearly an hour and 15 minutes of me talking, and that's not including like I don't know how long it was we were talking about other stuff off camera, but thanks again, and I'll let you know when this is out.
Yeah, definitely do. Yeah, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I know it's like, I could say vice versa. You talk to me for an hour and 15 minutes, all right? I was like, I'm on my couch, chilling, in a blanket, all right? You're the one working right now. I'm just relaxing, drinking some tea.
Okay. Well, thanks again.
Thank you. Have a good day, Mike.